Welcome to Nonprofit Network, powered by Stokes Auction Group. We are a podcast focused on benefit auctions and fundraising events for the nonprofit community. We are a group of fundraising professionals that specialize in raising funds to improve communities of all sizes.
Hello and welcome to Nonprofit Network, powered by Stokes Auction Group. This is our episode 22.
Ooh, 22. Deuces. Double the deuce.
You make it to 20, you're a rock star. We're on number 22. And this last week, the National Auctioneers Association put on their annual conference and show.
Yes.
And our one and only, Shelby Stokes, was there representing us. And he's here to tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Shelby, give us a brief summary, and then Kelly and I are going to probably ask you a couple questions, maybe, or...
Yeah, I just wanted
let's
to
just
say
see.
how much I missed you guys last week real quick. I did. I missed you guys. I know you had a guest here,
Yeah.
and so I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it, but I'm so happy to be
Yes,
back.
we
Willow.
did miss you.
Yes, we missed you very
Good.
much.
Well, I'm so happy that
We
we're
don't
all
know
together again.
where Willow
Just us
went,
three.
but she may be gone forever. So
I'm Kelly Schenfeld.
I'm Shelby Stokes,
I already introduced myself.
Okay.
and that's the guy that'll introduce himself, also known as
Yeah.
Paul. So I spent a week in San Diego. NAA, the National Auctioneers Association, as Paul mentioned, had their annual conference, and it ran alongside the Benefit Auction Summit. So it's essentially two conferences that ran at the exact same time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Benefit Auction Summit.
Yes. So there's a certification within the national organization that is a benefit auction specialist. Once you go through that course and get that designation, you then gain access to the annual conference where they discuss trends, they have guest speakers come in, et cetera, et cetera. So it was almost like a whole bunch of classwork for benefit and a whole bunch of classwork for NAA. So it was interesting.
Very cool.
Very interesting.
Did you come away like the industry is changing, or is gonna change, or has changed over the last COVID couple of years,
Or needs to change.
or needs to change? Good one.
Listen, we're an auction
Yeah.
company that was afraid of social media, and we now do a video podcast every week.
Right.
So,
Right.
things
Right?
are changing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Both nationally and in our little niche that we've carved out here. I think that right now an auctioneer has a very interesting career path. I think 20, 30 years ago, you hopped into this business and it was very set. Like, my career path is X to Y, and this is how I get there. Right? And right now it feels like there's a lot of change going on in our industry, and there wasn't a ton of classwork directly speaking to that specifically, but I think everyone feels it, right? I mean, in terms of the fundraising events, the heights that we saw in regard to how many events were happening 2.5, 3 years ago is not the same as it is today. And the interesting part of it is just talking with other individuals in this space that are also doing what we do.
Do you think that during the pandemic, do you think that that was a launching pad for people to do new ideas with this, and that probably we have people in the industry that we didn't have in prior to the pandemic? In personal opinion as well as general opinion at the conference, is that a good thing? Is that part of the change?
Change is always good.
Yeah.
Change is always good. And I think that, I have been guilty in the past of like staying comfortable and just kind of doing what we do and stamping the widget and going through the process and getting to the next year. What the pandemic forced us to do was change everything. And I think that that is exactly what the entire auction industry is going through as well, right? We have a family friend who runs a general merchandise auction. Shout out to Stokes Auction Barn over in Gig Harbor. They essentially took all of their in-person events and put them online out of necessity. And there were a lot of general merchandise auctions that made that exact same pivot happen, and a lot of them are talking about not going back in person.
Yeah, they are.
Now, is that going to be a national trend? That remains to be seen.
Sure.
I think that there's going to be some places, some pockets on the East Coast, Midwest. Is how you describe that area, I think. I'm not very good at mapping.
East Coast, Midwest, and Northwest.
Listen, I don't have a degree in cartography, so I think that Midwest
Ooh,
region.
cartography, that's a cool
I
word.
love that word.
Cartography. Is that four?
Cartography.
Four-syllable.
Four-syllable.
Nailed it. I think there's going to be pockets in the nation that still continue to do in-person events, and that's just not It's still too early to tell.
Yeah.
And so that's all like, but I have notes. Do
Cool.
you want to talk about the different classes?
Yeah.
So the first one out of the gate, well, first and foremost, to kick off the benefit portion, we had Letitia Fry come in and speak, and I think that honestly, if you're in this industry and you don't know who Letitia Fry is, she is a legend. She was a founding member and really
St.
carved
Jude
out the
auctioneer,
space.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she is St. Jude auctioneer.
She does St. Jude.
She's phenomenal.
She is.
She's managed to blend everything together
Yeah.
to make it entertaining, make it, quick, make it inviting. She's very good.
And she's trademarked the name Auctiontainer, which I think is brilliant because that is much more or specific on what we do as benefit auctioneers than the rat-a-tat-tat,
Yep.
bid.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, she kicked it off, and the thing that I appreciated about her speech is that she spoke about why you get into this business or into the fundraising space specifically. And it's to help communities come together and raise money. And at the core of what she said is really the igniting thrust through the entire industry, in my opinion. There were other speeches that felt like maybe they didn't speak to the core of what we do. They were more, let's just say, I like to keep the focus or the North Star or the guiding light as helping the community as a whole. Whether that be uniting people to raise $5,000 for your booster club, or whether that be a room of 500 people gathering together to raise 1.2 for medical research, right? I think the goal is always the same, which is to bring the community together, and she really spoke to that. I was very impressed with Letitia. I got a copy of her book, signed copy, might I add, made out to Shelby specifically, so I'm darn near famous.
Oh, Shelby.
No. So Letitia kicks it off. Then we go into a class about comedy, and this was with Judy Carter. And I didn't know that name until I did some research. Apparently, she used to work alongside Robin Williams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is the kind of accolades this gal's thrown around.
Wow.
And really, what she was kind of diving into is that when you're presenting, you already have your comedic material. It's just finding it. Right, so she had us do this exercise. I probably shouldn't say this on the stream, but I'm going to. She puts this prompt on the screen, and it says, "A pen is like sex because," and then had everybody go around the room and fill out a joke of some kind. Things got real raunchy real quick.
I can imagine.
Hilarious.
I can only imagine.
Real raunchy real quick. So, I mean, like, if you're kind of at home trying to write up some material, like, start with that, find out what's funny, and then know that, like, whatever your experience is in that moment, when you're trying to bring comedy to an event like we do, trying to find the commonality within the group, and then building your funnies or message from there. Right, so if we're at an organization that's raising money for a school, you have everyone raising money for the Eagles or whatever the mascot is, right? So starting with that commonality and then building in specific directions based on your personality is how she said to best write some comedy.
You're very good at that.
Yeah.
You're very good at that. You throw comedy into your shtick, for lack of a better term, a lot. And oddly enough, NAA is National Auctioneers Association.
Right.
So it's not just benefit auctioneers, it's car auctioneers, it's estate auctioneers, it's cattle auctioneers, it's all various facets of auctioneering. We come from a car auction,
background.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's the rat-a-tat-tat.
Right.
And finding humor dealing with car dealers is shots, almost like,
You gotta poke 'em.
Yeah, you got to poke them. And so,
And they love it.
and they love it. So, but I think the thing about inserting comedy into your night is it has to be, that's a fine line of appropriate and inappropriate. And I think that's what you guys struggle with as an auctioneer is you want to make that crowd happy all the time, right? But comedy is a tough one and a good one, but a tough one.
It is a tough one, and I found in my experience that sometimes I'll try to be funny, and then I'll end up pushing it too far, and then now I've made a boo-boo. Like, I pushed it too far.
Now you stepped in it.
Yeah,
right?
and that's like the delicate dance of what we do, right? Is like we are somewhat comics, but at the same time, you don't have that stage or audience that thinks they're there to see comedy.
No.
So you can't talk about taboo things that you see a lot of these big name comedians talk about and get away with it.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh my gosh. We should see if we could get a comic-based auction going of some kind. Comedians, patent pending.
Patent pending. Hashtag
All comedy.
all comedy.
Yeah,
All comedy and humor and audience interaction.
yes.
Okay, we are onto something here.
Okay, we are.
Stop talking about it.
We're coming back to this. What I do want to shout out
Off
is-
camera, we're talking about this.
what I do want to shout out is Judy Carter's book is called The Comedy Bible. It's called The Comedy Bible. So Google comedy and Bible and it'll come back. But really it's like a 101 for comedians. And there was one of the auctioneers in the room who actually was a stand-up comic professionally turned benefit auctioneer, and she said her entire set, all of her material, was all inspired by this gal. So if you think that comedy may be your thing, I would definitely recommend picking up her book.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right, because what we're trying to do, when we talked earlier about our rat-a-tat-tat means our bid calling, that was the attraction. And it still, to a certain extent, is.
It is.
It still is the attraction because just the presence of that delivery kind of gives you an anxious feeling of, oh, I can't wait till it's my turn. This is so fun. Oh, whoa, 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 I want in. You know, that audience interaction I still think is key. And it's up to us to try to figure out that fine line between too much of this or too much of that, that being the too much humor, too much comedy, too much dialogue, as the same with too much bid calling. You know, you've got to have that human presence of trying to interact with somebody in the audience and try to connect with them for that one instant that you're trying to get that one other bid out of that person. That is where our talent really shows. I
Yeah.
mean, we're the largest charity auction company in the country,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we've been there, done that. We're working our way through these changes, and I think that the education and input and feedback and networking that you would receive from an NAA conference show like this, I think it's up to us to find that value in that and see how it can apply to our craft and our business.
Yeah. Would you say that, did they have any classes or address anything in there about, you know, because we've had to, you know, I hate the word pivot and I'm not going to use it, but we've really had to change. I know I just,
You did it.
anyway,
You did
shut
the
up.
thing. You did the pivot.
You set the
She
word.
did the pivot!
Shut up! That, you know, everything is so instant now and everything is so, you know, you've talked to me multiple times about you've only got 10 seconds to grab somebody on that. What is that called? That TikTok?
The TikTok.
The TikTok.
The TikTok.
Anyway, and so everything's so instant and so. Did they address that with benefit auctions and how do you get around that to not keep people bored in the room or, you know, whether it's a number of items or do you push it on social media? Do you not push it on social media?
So, I mean, two questions there, right? I think
Multiple
one is,
questions.
Yeah, one is like what's happening in the ballroom in terms of immediate gratification, and the other is social media. And they did have a class on TikTok. The TikTok hole is deep, and they had somebody come in who does it professionally. There's an auction talk like subcategory, which I wasn't even
Professionally.
privy to.
There's a professional TikToker out there?
Well, this gal like consults big companies on social media presence and TikTok, and I was very impressed with her. She's from Toronto. I don't have her name in front of me, but yeah, she was great.
Like Wave of the Future stuff?
Like
I mean, like monumental shift in the direction of a
Oh, I'm
charity
so
auction?
glad you said shift because that sounded like monumental.
monumental shift. Shift.
I'm glad it was.
I like the concept because I understand what TikTok is and how it works and how it functions, and I can see the success of it. how we put that in and implement that into our delivery
Yeah.
and our craft, that to me is the question.
So we did do a hybrid stream. In other words, we streamed it out, but there were also people that signed up for the conference that were viewing from home. So they were watching all the classes with us and then participated in the live event. There were many software companies represented there, and they all have the ability to bring in those remote guests and have them bid. In regard to like the immediate gratification, I think we've all come to a point in the fundraising space in regards to events that you're going to want that checkout process to be easy, smooth, right? And the bidding on those silent auction items prior to is going to remain on the bidding device for the most part. Is there going to be outliers? Sure. People are going to do pen and paper silence. The issue that we were discussing with some of those software companies is that these organizations are having trouble getting the same number of items for their auction. So they're no longer showing up with 300 or 400 items. It's much fewer items. So
It's a procurement
now,
issue.
Yeah, a little bit of a procurement issue. So in terms of like the immediate gratification, that's not going anywhere, right? TikTok is not going anywhere. There's this guy I listened to for marketing. He said that last year he prioritized Instagram as his first platform to really like push content out to. This year, just 12 months later, it's not even on his top 5 list, Instagram. So it's fallen in terms of his priority all the way to the 6th spot, I'm guessing. So the instant gratification of TikTok is not going anywhere. You pick up your phone, you're looking for the dopamine hit. How does that play into auctions? I think the gamification plays into the auctions. If you're doing like general merchandise or something of that nature, you want to be notified when you're outbid and then have to check that phone. I don't think that gamification is going anywhere. Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. To me, it's a little scary too, because
yeah.
because you know it for us as benefit auction people, it's instant gratification is not what we necessarily want night of in the ballroom. You know, we want that energy builder, right? And that. I mean, to me, you know, I'm a different generation too, but to me that I understand that that's the way that it's going and you have to hop on or go retire, but
I mean, there's many of our members that like to take that list of names, and when somebody gives $100, they thank Paul Schenfeld for the gift of $100. That is essentially us trying to get to that immediate gratification with a bidder list.
Oh,
Right?
you know, you're right there.
And I think that these different technologies are eventually going to catch up with the process. It's going to happen. Not quite there yet, but it's going to happen.
Trying to take the entire feeling of the whole night, the energy and the success, hopefully, and squeeze it into a 10-second
Yeah.
TikTok
And
video.
I think that, well, I mean,
Try to still,
man,
that would be
I mean,
that would be crazy, right?
right?
But I think that what we are seeing is that those timelines are condensed. These events are shorter than they have been in the past. You're not able to get along with be here at 3 o'clock and leave at midnight. That's not happening anymore. And I think part of that is a direct correlation to our attention spans being shorter. You know, that 9-hour window that we used to have is no longer there. Then we went to virtual, and the events were 45 minutes to an hour and a half at the longest. And I think that when we go back to the ballroom, you're still going to have to continue to expedite that process.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, if not even
Yeah.
more.
even more,
Yeah.
yeah. What is the number one thing that you would left that conference? What is the number one takeaway for you as an auctioneer, as an event person, as a member of Stokes Auction Group, as Shelby, the guy?
The man.
What was your number one? Think deep. Don't just
That's
open.
a really good question.
That's a tough
What is
question to answer.
what is your takeaway? If somebody was to say, what is the most you got out of that, besides the pool with the girls afterwards?
I mean, we did spend some time
You
in the
did
pool.
spend a
We
little
did
time in the
spend
pool. I did follow you on
There's
that. but
photographic
it was
evidence
worth
of
it.
that.
There is, and it was worth it. They're wonderful women.
I think what one takes from a conference like this is a sense of community and brotherhood. We, at times, as auctioneers, can get on the road and feel that we are kind of alone, right, on the road, whether it be going to one auction to the next or raising funds for one organization and kind of being that solo entity that the entire event rests on. And I think what I found within this conference was being able to commiserate and also celebrate the fellow auctioneers and fundraisers throughout the nation and even internationally. You know, I'm sitting there having a conversation with a young, inspiring auctioneer out of Canada who has great things in her future. And to just sit there and be in that moment with her and strategize on how best she can take her career to the next level, I think was probably the most rewarding thing for me. You know, as Paul mentioned, we are a charity auction company that has seen some pretty high highs. We have helped a lot of communities over the course of our career, and there were some people that I bumped into within this gathering of minds that are in a very similar boat to us. You know, doing many events and helping communities best leverage their potential to raise funds for the nonprofit world is really where our North Stars align. And whether we wear, you know, a red banner or a blue banner, at the end of the day, we're trying to make the world a better place. So that would be the number one bullet, highlighted, underscored, all of the above. The community that is built and trying to push this industry forward to a more healthy place is really at the top of my list here.
I think that's what you would hope somebody would get out of it.
Staying in line with the original mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hasn't
Staying
changed.
in line with the original mission and don't let it get lost.
I think it can
That
get
hasn't changed.
muddy, but
Yeah, exactly.
it's muddied.
It hasn't changed, but it's not always your number one priority. Like, I'm human. I don't drive to work every day saying, how can I make the world a better place, right? I have things like I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. But at the end of the day, if our goal is to lift our community and lift this world to a better spot, then we're doing something right.
I believe in my heart that the live fundraising event will always remain that very thing. And it's just up to us to tweak it, turn it a little bit, mess around with it, to try to keep it interesting and new and fresh to your supporters.
Yeah,
It's going to be up to us
it is.
to do that.
It is. And you know what we're seeing right now, and this has always been true in the nonprofit industry, is that the turnover is very high. Like our contacts are kind of leaving, and individuals that have been in organizations for 5+ years are now moving on to different positions. And that change is a little unsettling, but what it's going to do is it's going to require that benefit auctioneers of all walks of life raise their game. Because no longer
Absolutely.
can you lean on what we used to do in the past. We've always done it this way. Because the person that used to lead that committee is gone.
Yeah.
Gone,
That's a good
gone,
point,
and
right?
not picking up her cell phone when you call her at 8 o'clock with your hair on fire. So what it's going to cause, it's going to require everyone that's in this industry, whether directly or indirectly, to really bring all their knowledge and know-how to how to allow these nonprofits to succeed.
As well as understand that the constant turnover has to do with expectation that happens sometimes, and there can be an unreal expectation that happens. And you as the auction team, when you go on site, you have the ability for that new person or that person that's been doing it for years to wear them in a positive manner so that they can either be calmed down, so that moving forward they understand that they did the best that they could do. I think that we as events people also have a responsibility to that group of people because the turnover is so high, right? It is so that those are the people, yes, we're there to get money from the community that's there. Our job is really to calm down and give them the sense of we got you when we show up. And I think that went away a little bit. I do think
bit.
that, you know, the slick willies get in there and I'm here, give me the mic, we're going to raise some money. Boom, I'm done, drop the mic.
And
that's changing.
Well, I mean, those guys are still there. Like
They are, but you know what?
Let's face it.
Those
like, let's
guys
call
are
a
still
spade a
there.
spade.
And they are.
And I'm not innocent. I've been that guy, right?
Yeah,
I've
you
been
have
that guy in
been,
the
and
past.
so is
Yeah.
he, and so is Mark.
Right.
But you've never not,
Right.
cared about the people
Yeah.
that you're servicing that night, that you're working for that night. Ooh, I better recorrect that. Those are the old days, people.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
Well, if I could just say one more thing, is that we keep pitching and promoting new, different, innovative ideas. And with a new group of executive directors, auction chairs coming in, there's a certain amount of fear of failure, right? And we're going to know what the strategy is long before we get on stage. We're going to talk about, hey, what should we do with this double? What should we do with this by the head item? We're going to know well in advance of how we're going to do that. And you still may be nervous, not sure of the outcome. But you know what? That's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to shake it up. We're trying to keep things new and fresh. And if you come up with a new idea and it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. You just don't try it the next year. But if you do come up with a new idea and you hit a home run with it, then you learn something.
You're a hero.
Yeah.
Then you're a hero.
And I'd like to pat myself on the back real quick,
Please do.
since neither of these two boys do. It is because of my idea that Shelby actually went to NAA. I pushed him hard on that a little bit. That's true.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
And
You did.
so you're welcome.
Yeah. And you know, moving forward, I don't want to make any grandiose statements. I will say that I enjoyed myself far more than I anticipated enjoying
Well,
myself.
we will do our best
Cool.
to have a presence at the NAA moving forward.
Yes.
We got a little
NAA or BAS.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Or MAY
Yes.
or possibly
MAY.
TYY or the XYZ.
Or TBC yogurt.
TBC yogurt.
Yep.
Any of those organizations we're going to try to.
Thank you for joining us. I know that it's been kind of a crazy cast. I've been all over the place. Hopefully I brought you some value. Yep, we've definitely ran a little long. But at the end of the day...
Is it like
you know,
52 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, it's not
So we know
very
you
long.
guys listened the entire 52
Yes,
minutes, and we
thank you.
appreciate you.
Yeah. And you better listen all the way. We're bringing Willow back. That is a threat, in case anybody's wondering. Thank you for joining us. We don't have our intro on the screen, but go out there and do good. If you want to talk to us, send us an email, auction@stokesauctiongroup.com. A couple weeks ago, we did a live Q&A. We'll do that again here in the next couple of weeks. So if you have questions, submit them or hold on to them for that date specifically. Yeah, we appreciate you being with us. If you have more questions regarding my experience at NAA, shoot them my way. I know I met a lot of different fundraisers and auctioneers out there. Anybody that gave me a card, I will reach out directly, but feel free to drop me a line. Always willing to talk about this wonderful industry that we're in.
Who's our music by today?
Mixard.
Rider Days by Mixart.
Awesome.
Hey, don't forget, if you guys sign on with us by the end of October,
Yes.
Yeah.
15% off if we pick your organization out of the hat.
That's right. Hey, it could happen.
Could happen.
It could
So
happen.
thanks for
Can't see
joining
good.
us. Go out, be bold, be brave, enjoy your summer.
Yeah. Be courageous.
And go do good.
We out.
Bye.
Later.
See ya.